Welcome to the Influencers in Accounting podcast. It's me, Rob Brown. Thrilled to have with me special guest today, Kellie Parks. Hello, Kellie.
Hello, Rob. How are you?
We're doing splendid. Kellie, for people that haven't come across you, and I can't believe there are many, tell us what you do and how you work in the world.
I'm a certified professional bookkeeper here in Canada. And I came into that world because I had a number of businesses and I was doing my own books, not well, but I was doing them, and working directly with my accountant. But really loved doing bookkeeping. In my previous life, I had a marketing company. I did big projects, and in a lot of ways, collaborating with clients and accountants is all about project management. It came directly into my wheelhouse, and I'm super task oriented. So being able to start something and finishing and wind up with a meaningful product, the financials at the end, was super gratifying. But the cool thing about the bookkeeping is that I embraced the cloud very early on, because in my marketing world, things in print and production and marketing went cloud way before almost any other industry. So I already realized the miracle of working from anywhere in the world. And so then I started working on creating processes for accountants to work in and bookkeepers to work in the cloud, because not a lot of them were. So I came into the cloud accounting world in 2012. And so not that I'm brilliant, but I'm ahead of a lot of people. And so now I help people get to where I love being. And that's been super fun. And I do a lot of that by crafting processes and helping them implement them in their firms.
And you've got a huge following. You've been doing this a while now. People love what you're doing. Let's put accountants and bookkeepers in one box for a moment. And let me ask you, what kind of state or shape do you feel that profession is in generally right now?
I think COVID moved the needle along in so many ways, not to bring up COVID, but I think it has made a lot of accounting and bookkeeping firms realize that there is so much merit in collaborating in the cloud with their clients and their team. Whereas before, the idea was really out there and it seemed like a cool idea, but change management is really hard for people. But I'm going to tell you what's interesting is I live in a bit of a bubble. So I have hung around with a lot of cloud types, if you will, in the accounting world. I work with a lot of the applications. I've been in that space for a really long time. And sometimes I forget how hard it is for other people to move there, because those of us who embraced it love it.
Yeah, you're working with some of the early adopters. We'll come back to that, because we're going to talk about what stops accountants and bookkeepers going to the cloud, why they're dragging their heels. Does COVID, in your view, accelerate things that were already going on, or has it created a whole new wave of change and started things that weren't happening, Kellie?
More, I would say it accelerated the pace.
Yeah.
There has been a little bit of that back part of it that changed things that weren't even on the radar.
For instance?
That's a good question. Now I have to actually back up what I'm saying, Rob. You didn't tell me I had to back up any of the crap that spews out of my mouth. Come on, man.
You're gonna make some work for my editors on this one, Kellie, to make this all sound seamless.
Oh, is that what's going to happen? Okay, so what are some of the things that wouldn't have happened? Well, for some firms, they never would have moved off of the crazy servers that they have. So I think for a lot of the firms, they thought they were really cloud-based because they had remote servers. What they've realized is a lot of those remote servers have huge issues and huge IT implications that can be overcome by actual cloud technology. So when I would work with some of the firms earlier on, before COVID, it was, so we'll call that BC, that a lot of them thought they were well on their way because they had servers that you could remote into. But once we moved along to the difference with actual cloud-based technology, they realized that some of their servers were dinosaurs causing them trouble.
That's a really good point. You talk to accounting firms that think they're digital, they think they're global. It's just because they've got a digital app or they've got a cloud-based platform or they've got a client that uses it. That's not the case, is it?
No, it's not the case. And there's even a world of difference. I totally promote QuickBooks Desktop. Is a fantastic product. And I actually had a client that I kept on it for quite a long time, even though I'd moved everybody else onto QuickBooks Online. Xero's a fantastic product. I mean, there's a ton of them, but those would be the two big, well-developed cloud GLs.
Okay.
But QuickBooks Desktop can't be discounted as the ability to work in the cloud either, because you've got hosting things like QBox that do a beautiful job of it. So I was like some sort of ding dong, but it worked out great. A girlfriend of mine introduced, because we were both working from Florida in the winter. I'm Canadian. And she introduced me to hosting QuickBooks Desktop on Dropbox. That changed my life in collaborating with my clients, because now it was truly up in a place that we could all access it from anywhere. And I'm not going to talk about, because I think people, you want to know what stops, I'm giving away the ending here. What stops accounting firms from going into the cloud space is that sometimes there are client models that can't move yet. And they think, okay, if I can't move them, then we're stuck just doing things the old way. You're not stuck doing things the old way. You can still host it, because now with Web Connect, you can take the likes of QuickBooks and connect up those cloud payment processors. You can connect up the likes of Dex to it. You can publish to it. You can connect these things on the back end to take checks out of play. I know I'm speaking to the converted here, being a fellow Commonwealther, that checks are, I mean, I haven't written a check in, got to be 10, 12 years, right? But there's people who do, Rob, believe it or not.
I understand. And in a way, Kelly, we are talking to some of the early adopters here who are sat back listening to this podcast or taking the dog for a walk and thinking, well, Kelly's talking about things we've already done, but let's take it back to basics and build this up. In the Kellie Parks Dictionary of Life and Business, tell us what the cloud is, so that we're all of one accord.
You know what? That's a great question, because I was on, I'm just going to give you a little example. I had that same confusion for a really long time. So I started working on Dropbox, as I mentioned, in 2009. And then I was on QuickBooks and Xero by 2012. And I had adopted everything like Dex, HubDoc, Pluto, all of that stuff. By 2014, my clients and I were completely paperless. And it was like nirvana. And I still didn't quite understand what the word cloud meant.
Right.
And then I went to a conference. There's an association here in Canada, the Certified Professional Bookkeepers Association of Canada, way ahead. These are my people. By 2014, this was a thing for quite a collective of people. And I'm at a conference there, and I'm going to this thing, what is the cloud? Because I'm like, what is cloud? And then I realize I'm on the cloud. So I'm actually doing the cloud thing. And the cloud thing is, getting to the point of what you asked, Rob, the cloud thing is when your data is hosted somewhere other than on a server within your location, on your desktop. So if your programs are housed solely on a server you control and on your desktop, that's not in the cloud. If your programs are accessible from anywhere, anytime, through a browser-based manner, that's the cloud.
Got it. Because if you asked 100 different accountants what the cloud is, you'd probably get 110 different answers, wouldn't you?
100%. So just to be clear, a server is not the cloud.
No.
It just isn't. There's still a physical location that you control what happens with all of that. The cloud is essentially what we call software as a service, or the SaaS products, with the exception of the hosted desktop, which is QBox, which is still something that is ultimately based on what we'll call Amazon Web Services or or Microsoft Azure.
Got it. And we deliberately don't make this show too technical. That's for my benefit rather than the listeners, because I'm a former high school math teacher and part qualified accountant, so I get the numbers. But what stops accountants going to the cloud? One of the concerns has always been security, because accountants, bookkeepers, by virtue of their nature, they're risk averse. They want safety in the numbers. They like to know where everything is. They like to be able to lay their hands on everything. They like control. So that's always been a concern, hasn't it? At least until recent years.
So I need to back up your comment a little. You think accountants and bookkeepers want control? I have not heard this. Okay,
I know you're shocked now, aren't you?
I'm totally shocked by that. So this is just as big a shock to me as what were some, and I know we're supposed to stay on topic here, but now I've learned about faffing about, low-level biffing, gobby, and the accountants and bookkeepers are control freaks.
I know I'm rocking your world right now, Kelly, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, and here's the thing, because I do a lot of talk around security in the cloud.
Yeah, that
is one of my talking points because I believe so mightily in it, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention my blog, but I have a blog, and it's redundancy for the sake of redundancy, and it also touches on all the security. There's two types of people when they're going to the cloud. Seems to be nobody in the middle. There are the ones that don't want to go to the cloud because they are so petrified of the security.
Yes.
Those are the same people who will send a check through the mail and go to online banking without two-factor verification.
And put $20 in a birthday card or a Christmas card or something like that. Yeah.
Right. And then there is the other group that give it no thought at all, run headlong into the cloud with no consideration of backing their data up or who has access to their data or protecting access to their programs. Those are the two types of people that are out there. They need to meet in the middle somewhere, for sure.
You would think there would be some common ground there.
Yeah, but in my experience, Rob, it's really been either or. Running, or even if they're crawling to the cloud, they still have no consideration for security at all. None. But the risk averse ones are doing, and so this is where I work with change management on this, and I always do a security audit for clients, and none of them pass, even if they're totally based on their desktop, nothing, right? They're backing up their data to a stick that they then leave on the desk next to their computer, and then it goes to a server that's back in their warehouse somewhere. But they won't go to the cloud because they're worried about their data disappearing. And these are the same people that don't have their computers password protected. So
let's summarize what we've got so far. Why are accountants and bookkeepers not going to the cloud as readily as they should be? One of the reasons is security and that they're risk averse. Another that you've alluded to is that they are perhaps complacent. They've done some things in a certain way for so many years. Double entry bookkeeping's not changed over thousands of years, has it? So they get in that, dare we say, a rut or a way of doing things, and they want to continue that because, as you hinted, they don't cope well with change.
They don't do well with change. And here's what's interesting, Rob. Lots of accounting firms are making lots of money. They are not motivated to change to the unknown because they're already making money. They don't, point. And the change makers aren't the ones suffering under the weight of old processes. And that has been, I have disengaged from a number of firms because the change makers, if you will, those in charge of ultimately deciding on the change, are so busy making money and running the KPIs and the ROIs on everything that they're stuck. If you're going to move to the cloud, there is 100% an element of leap of faith. And if people aren't willing to take that leap of faith and just say, this is where we're going, it's going to be really hard to get there. I think that that's one of the biggest things is it's very hard to measure the KPIs on such a change in process that it gets stopped right there.
Let's camp on that for a moment. You bring up such an important point. Because accounting and bookkeeping is pretty much required by law, businesses have to stay compliant. There are regulatory demands. We all need an accountant and a bookkeeper to keep us out of jail. So there is that arrogance or complacency in that we've got an elegant business model. Money comes in every month, every year. Our clients keep renewing what they're doing with us. They still need an audit and tax stuff doing. So why should we change? Why should we invest in technology and in cloud and everything else? Because it's been working perfectly fine. So I guess one of the other drivers for going into the cloud would be demands from the clients themselves who are in the cloud. And if that demand isn't coming from clients, then where is the incentive for accountants and bookkeepers to change?
You actually really hit on a good point. The demand is coming from clients.
Right.
So, and some of the clients that don't care about change, they don't need to be in their GLs, all of that kind of stuff, they're retiring. The new business is being driven by two things: younger people and younger clients and younger team members.
Yes.
And if you don't go to where these people live, you're missing out on a number of things. And so this isn't one of the reasons they don't change. I'm going to move on to a reason they should change.
Yes.
And I don't know what the stats are. I did see them recently, and they're incredible. To sell a cloud-based accounting or bookkeeping business, it's like and I'm gonna make something up here. I think it's 1.5 times revenue.
Yeah, the multiple.
The multiple. To sell an old dog firm, actually, by and large, isn't even happening unless somebody just wants that client base is going to take and transform the business anyways. But I'll tell you, it's very often not 1.5 revenue unless they have some other compelling service that very few people offer. So if you don't have a compelling service and you're not moving towards the new way of doing things, you're going to have a hard time selling your accounting firm.
So true. There's a lot of consolidation, M&A activity, private equity, VC money's coming into accounting. A lot of baby boomers are selling up. But you're right. If they are not digitized, where is the value in that? It's in a Rolodex, isn't it, really? It's in a list of clients that are not in the cloud and you're not in the cloud. So where truly is the value? You're just buying a simple book of business.
And a book of business. But what's happening is it is being driven by clients. I see it more and more when I always do a file review before I even consider taking on a client. So they go through a whole vetting process with me to match my ideal client. I'm getting way off topic, but I'm getting there. They go through an entire vetting process, and then I do a file review. By and large now, it's only QuickBooks Online or Xero file reviews. The people that are looking for accountants and bookkeepers or are looking to change from accountant and bookkeepers are coming with cloud-based GLs now.
You prompted another question for me, Kelly. There is more and more movement from one accounting firm to another, one bookkeeping firm to another. We heard a story recently about a significant business that had withdrawn all of its work from an accounting firm and gone to a firm of essentially bookkeepers that were certified in Xero, certified in Sage, QuickBooks, whatever it was. And they said, we don't need accountants. We just need someone to do the compliance work. There is going to be more of that. And they don't want the advisory stuff. They don't want that trusted advisor to speak into the business. So there will be a lot of change, and you won't pick up any of that switch business, as we call it, from other firms and providers unless you are in the cloud yourself.
And you make a really interesting point, Rob, and that is, and we're seeing this here in Canada. And again, I run in a bubble. I spend my days working with cloud-based people, and I also I was on the board of directors for our bookkeeper association. I'm heavily involved in it. It owns my heart. So I am running with a forward-thinking crowd anyways.
Got it.
Some of the stuff that these bookkeepers are doing is amazing because we are right in the weeds of our client's business, we know more about them often than their spouses may know, certainly about their business. And, if you're taking on a cleanup file, you may even know what kind of cigarettes they smoke before they know they're not allowed to write them off. But people who are in, especially the cloud-based books, because we're collaborating right in that same space with our clients
in real time.
In real time. I basically do weekly engagements. So my clients' books are actually in real time. And we can bring so much day-to-day value. And a lot of here in Canada, I don't know what it is in the UK, but here in Canada, we can actually do corporate tax returns. I believe I don't do them, but I believe it's up to 500,000 in revenue.
Right.
So, and a lot of bookkeepers do personal tax returns. We are deeply involved with our clients.
And I'm thinking of Star Trek. We all used to watch Star Trek and be wowed at the technology and the sliding doors and things like that. But a lot of that technology is with us. And you're giving us a little picture there of what the future holds, that is already here for some accountants and bookkeepers on the bleeding edge of cloud.
Right.
So they're doing some incredible things that the long tail, if you like, and the majority of professionals are not anywhere near right now.
And, I'll tell you what's interesting. So in 2012, there's no other way to put it. The cloud-based programs stank. They stank the place out. They were horrible. Even some of the outside applications, they took you away from the paper world, but they certainly aren't what they are now. So, some of us took a couple of hits for the team along the way.
Yeah, you were a pioneer, face down in the dirt with arrows in your back, Kelly, weren't
you? You have no idea. But here's the thing of it. It was the same thing in the design and print industry. Now I'm going to say 30 years ago. Time's a weird continuum. The programs were awful. The proofing systems were awful. But we wanted to be where it was going. We wanted to be where the future was. That is a real struggle for a lot of accountants and bookkeepers. But the reality of it, so I took on some of those early things, not because it was great in that moment. It gave me the way to run a lifestyle business for myself and my clients, freed us up, collaborate in real time. There was a lot of good stuff about it. Where we wanted to be, though, is why we were using the programs that stank the place out then. We could see that we were going to get to where a lot of us are now. And that is higher level work. I'm a bookkeeper, but I am in very tight with my clients and doing a lot of other work for them, including, and I know you don't want to get this too crazy, I do processes and automations and all kinds of work outside of the accounting space for my clients because I know so much about how their business is running. And a lot of accountants are scared of that the space is going to that we're becoming implementation specialists. We're becoming tech, because you want to talk about the problems with going to the cloud, the fear. And one of them is there's so much other interesting work that can be done that does not sound interesting to accountants.
Talk to us about the role of culture in a firm, in a practice, Kelly, because there may be some people that want to take the firm to cloud or have push from clients to do so, but they're banging their head against a brick wall, trying to push change through. We talked a little bit about the intransigence of the baby boomers and the senior partners not wanting to change, but the culture of a practice must speak a lot to its ability to adopt cloud.
And so I think that one of the things that happens that needs to change is that they are not engaging their clients and their team members in the process, and they're not cheerleading. Right. You have to have a full vision of where it's going and why. You always need to know your why. Why are you doing anything? What's the outcome you're looking for? Are you driving to sell your business? This goes for your clients and for your firm and for your team members. Are you running a lifestyle business? Is it a passion project? You need to define what all that is about, and change becomes a lot easier. But if you don't engage your team members in it, you're going to have a hard time pushing it through. And so, for example, and I don't mean that I know everything. I don't, especially when it comes to team. It's always a tough one. But it's small things like this. when I was changing over my CRM project management, I didn't just make a decision. I engaged Marissa. I have one person now. I engaged Marissa in it and said, here are the options. Go play and tell me what resonates with you too. And so if they don't bring on cheerleaders and engage people in it, you got trouble. And I saw a firm that really, really didn't want to change, but they know that they have to. So you know what they did? They engaged the people in the process for their new cloud-based practice management program. They engaged the most resistant team members.
Oh.
Don't do that. And it's the same thing when I was migrating my clients to the cloud. I took the ones that it was going to be the hardest and gave them what their biggest wins were going to be. Yeah. I took one on that end, and I took the one over here that couldn't get there fast enough so that I could see what would happen with everybody in the middle. I knew the best and the worst out case scenarios. I think you need to do a little bit of that with your team members too, but don't just pick, if you want this project to fail, don't just pick, I mean, you're going to pick the ones that least want it to go forward, right?
Yeah.
Did any of that make sense?
Yeah, totally got that. It's a great point. Talk to us a little bit about the future. We're never going back from cloud now. So what do the next few years look like for us with cloud technology?
Funny, I was talking with a friend about this because those early heady days where the technology was changing every day and the benefits were streaming in, and yet people were really slow to adopt it. So for those of us in the middle of it, it was super exciting. We just kept seeing all these changes and all these improvements. I think, and I'm just guessing, and maybe I'm blowing smoke here. I think now the big changes in the tech has happened. What you're going to see is just a more steady adoption rate. Because of course we've all seen the graphs, right? So, you know, we had the innovators and the early adopters, and it had a high thing, and then it plateaued. Yeah. I don't see it. It just, I think it's going to just be a slow burn of continuing on, and it's becoming a way of life that's way more accepted. There's not going to be a whole lot more of these aha moments, except for the first few times that you're working with a client and, you know, from Thailand, and they are in Europe and you're all Canadian based. Yeah. Kellie, or the aha moments of them going into, I create custom reports for my clients so they can go in any minute and look at where they're at. And then we have a process that I ship out a note when the books are actually closed that says your books are now accurate. I think those will be some of the aha moments for clients, that collaboration is so real and the books are so meaningful to them. But I don't think you're going to have giant steps in the actual technology like we've had. I think we're there.
That makes sense. There's certainly a lot of bookkeepers and accountants standing and waiting to see what will happen, and then they'll make their move. Might be too late, who knows. Kellie, we'll put all your contact details and social media links into our show notes so people can reach out to you. But one final question for you. What words of encouragement, or a call to arms, if you like, would you give to the accountants and bookkeepers listening that really do want to be a driver of change? They want to be a champion. They want to push things through. They want to bring clients into the cloud with them. They want to bring their colleagues and even bosses into the cloud with them. They want to blaze a trail. They want to be a pioneer, if you like. What would you say to them?
I would say, if your fear is that you are actually maybe putting yourself out of a job because you're not slugging it out in the actual data entry world, you will find that once you take that leap, and it's a leap of faith in so many ways, that you are not working yourself out of a job. You are working yourself into a much more interesting day.
Well, Kellie Parks, that's been terrific. Thank you so much for your passion and your insights and your time with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.